So you're happy to have egoist utilitarian friends.
Yes, I
People who
prefer it, right?
people, you're happy for me to have this conversation with you because I like having this conversation with you,
Yes.
not because I value having some relationship with you if I did.
Correct. I
Some
don't
friend.
believe in any sort of unconditional relationship. I think everything is conditional, but I enjoy that. So like as my response to what I typed out, that I view all relationships as transactional. So like I think that if anybody is spending time with me, I hope the reason they're doing it isn't because they value me or they value our friendship, but that they feel like they're getting something out of that that's more valuable to them than any other thing they could be doing at that particular point in time.
Isn't that a roundabout way of saying that they value the friendship though? Because
Well,
isn't
isn't
that
yours a
really
roundabout way of saying they value their preferences? I don't know. Is it?
Once again, destiny is based.
I'm a very big fan of this, but maybe in a fucked up way, or maybe because I haven't thought about it enough.
You're a fan of no moral responsibility? Is that what
Yeah,
you're
so
saying?
I'm a fan of responsibility insofar as it impacts outcomes, but I don't like the idea behind moral responsibility because I believe that the burden of moral responsibility is not distributed in a fair way. So for instance, like people would look at people and say that murder is wrong, and like it's very easy to say that murderers are bad people, but that like if you have this kind of like twisted concept of agency or free will in your head, that you might look at somebody that has a perfectly fine life and then wakes up one day and is like, I'm pissed off and go kill people, that you give that guy the same type of moral weight as say like a Taliban soldier or somebody that's been doing it since they were like fucking 5 years old.
The guy laughs, but he doesn't even understand what moral responsibility is. Then again, that's because moral responsibility itself is incoherent. And it's incoherent because the thing it depends on, objective morality, is also incoherent. If objective morality makes no clear sense, then neither does the idea of moral choice. What exactly are you choosing in relation to? What does it even mean to have a duty or a responsibility to morality? As far as I can tell, nothing. The phrase sounds serious, but it doesn't actually say anything. Morality, at least as it's usually framed, isn't about consequences, but about the supposed intrinsic goodness of the choice itself. In other words, consequences be damned, so long as you did the right thing. But that raises the obvious question. If duty is not oriented toward consequences, then what is it oriented toward? What does it actually lead to? Nothing, ultimately, except the private satisfaction of the chooser, who gets to believe he did what was right.
Who cares about preferences?
Hell yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I just don't know. I mean, do you have a preference to live in a world that has less suffering? You say you don't care about suffering.
In general, I do, but because it's usually more beneficial for me. So for instance, let's say I go out to eat and I've got like, there's 10 candy bars on a table and I'm with 9 friends, right? I might so what I would consider a retarded objection to my egoism would somebody who said, well, the egoist would grab and eat all 10 candy bars and fuck his friends. But in reality, my friends would be mad at me. They probably would have a less enjoyable experience. I like spending time with people that are more happy than sad. So like I would be willing to share the candy because it, in a way, it benefits me in a net way, right?
Right, so everything you do, you've just basically said, is for your own net gain.
Yeah.
Absolutely everything.
Yes.
Even caring for your son.
Yeah, because I like seeing my son happy. I've got a strong emotional attachment to him. Yeah.
I don't think that's the truth. I really don't. Or if it is, I can't empathize with that ever. Because
Sorry.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
At the end of the day, that's really all most people can object to when it comes to egoism. All they can say is, I don't believe you, or I can't empathize with that. But neither of those is a refutation. They can't actually deny the truth of egoism. So instead, they caricature it. Most people reduce intelligent egoism or rational self-interest to crude selfishness. They imagine it means taking everything for yourself, but that only shows they don't understand egoism in its full scope or its massive variability. Everyone acts in self-interest. Some people just don't know it, and others lie to themselves about it. But egoism doesn't mean everyone has to be obnoxious, predatory, or antisocial. Obviously, there are still decent, courteous, fair, and reliable people. The point isn't that they act the way they are because they're serving some mystical moral duty. Whether they admit it or not, they act that way because it's beneficial for them to do so. Why be polite? Why not cut in line? Why be fair? Why pay people back? Because other people have a massive effect on your life. You work for people. People work for you. You have neighbors, coworkers, friends, family, and a wider community. People remember what you do. They talk. They judge. They decide whether you're trustworthy, reliable, useful, safe. It's a terrible strategy to regularly interact with people who can't act fairly or follow basic social norms, because those people become unpredictable and unprofitable. If someone cuts in line whenever they can, refuses to repay a personal loan, or behaves dishonestly in ordinary life, why would you trust them with anything important, or rely on them when something actually matters? That's the point people miss. Egoism is not refuted by the fact that people cooperate or behave decently. That's often exactly what egoism predicts.
I guess here would be like my question. Dude, you can pull me out, okay? You're the guy that can do it, okay? You got the qualifications. So here's my question.
Okay.
I'm on my fucking deathbed, and I can push a button that ends all of humanity, but then extends my existence for 5 or 10 minutes. How do you tell me not to push the button? Why would I ever not push the button?
So going back to your challenge then, why not press a button that extends your life 5 minutes and kills the rest of the world?
Mm-hmm.
Well, would you want someone else to do that would you want me to do that?
So I would argue that I wouldn't, but the only way I can enforce that is through force. I have to find some way to make that a non-preference for you.
Notice something about Tom's answer to Destiny's question, or rather, his non-answer. He can't actually answer it, whether he realizes that or not. And that's because there is no good answer. When it comes down to it, a person will choose what they value most. In this case, Destiny values 5 or more minutes of his own life over the continued existence of humanity, and there's nothing irrational about that from his perspective. Why would there be? Existence means nothing to him if he's not alive to experience it. That's the part Tom can't answer. He wants to appeal to some larger moral principle, some duty not to push the button. But that only works if Destiny already values that principle more than his own continued existence.
Not necessarily act or rule, but literally like I maximize for my own preferences rather than society's preferences. And then you can do that
so that's like a scale of egoism or something.
Okay.
Right?
So an ego utilitarian, some shit. Okay.
Yeah, that's what you are basically, right?
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.